This is Selling Seven Figures with your host, Kevin Mullaney. Join him in a panel of 4 high-achieving distributors and start crushing your sales goals.
Welcome, everyone, to Selling Seven Figures. Yes, I finally said it right. A monthly mini-series designed to help distributors, salespeople crush their goals. I'm your host, Kevin Mullaney. So if you're in sales, then I'm sure you've been asked what's the newest, hottest, trendiest product on the market. We all remember the fidget spinner craze and how fast it took off and how quickly it fizzled. So, are trendy items the way to go, or are items that you have stood the test of time, coupled with a creative marketing campaign, the way to go? I'm joined by Amanda Clay from Walker Clay, Nanette Gregg from Lemonade Creative Marketing, Katie Kaler from American Solutions for Business, and David Keneally from Brand Hero and Geiger. Let's dive in and see how the dashing distributors keep up with consumer trends and how it plays into their sales. All right, All-Stars, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. We're here at episode 4, talking trends, okay? So let's first start with the research part. How are you determining what is a trend and when you want to pitch to your client? Amanda Clay, we'll start with you.
I feel like it's just like surveying everything that's out there. It could be what's hot on TikTok. It could be stalking Katie or Nanette or David and seeing what they've posted, following like what's happening at industry shows. I mean, there's certain people in the industry that do a really good job on like Instagram or things like that when they're at shows. I'm not one of them, but I probably follow one of them so I can see all the cool things that they've had. So I think that just kind of surveying things, but I do think we're starting to see a lot of the retail stuff, and it does usually right now, especially for the younger generation, we're seeing it pop up first on TikTok. Luckily, I have some people on my team that are really good at TikTok, and usually I get messages to follow it versus me being the one to find it. But surrounding myself with people who are going to share those things with me also helps.
Beautiful. David, I know you have a huge presence on TikTok. I think the last time I saw it, it was up to 8 million followers. So when you're not following your TikTokers, how are you keeping up with the online trends and how are you going into it?
I'm just trying to be very aware, both online and offline, critical eye toward to what's happening at retail. And I definitely lean into my daughter now, who is 24 years old. And she really keeps her finger on the pulse of what's kind of hot. So I was able to back off of the trend research, and she's doing a lot of that work for our company now. So that's been wonderful.
That does seem to be a bit of a cheat code to have that perfect demographic of 24 years old. So lucky you there. Going to go over to Katie. Katie, your thoughts on the trends of the world.
In addition to what Amanda said, I love following our supplier partners on Instagram and on social media. Sometimes I'll notice something there while I'm wasting time scrolling versus actually being on their website or an email I get from them. So that's sort of that, always having that passive knowledge. I love retail trends. And I think the best thing that you can do after going to an event where you see all these trends is taking good notes, because the hardest part is remembering those items when you get asked the question.
Awesome. Nanette?
Yeah, one of the things that I like to do is to attend other trade shows for some of the more trending items. Like this year, I had an opportunity to attend CES. And CES is probably one of the most forward-thinking tech shows, and a lot of our product is tech-centered. And so having an opportunity to see those things before they actually make it to market or they're early on in the market phase, it's been good for us to be able to get introduced to those trends early on. Not big on following the stuff that just the fidget spinner. I don't know if we sold 100 because I hated the whole concept. But yeah, so participating in other industries and following those trends at those shows.
Yeah, that's super helpful, Nanette. And it's interesting for those that are not within the industry. What people don't know is that the Consumer Electronics Show is right the week before in Las Vegas, right before or after the promo industry, depending on how the calendar hits. So a lot of times what you'll see at that show, you'll see at our show, maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the line. So really good idea to kind of keeping in touch with that. Now, are there any tools that you all are looking at or can track when something is successful or when it's not? Amanda, I'll start with you again. Is there anything that you're using to say, hey, that was a hit, let's do that again, let's try and step and repeat that?
I think potentially just like hearing the customer's experience with it. But I think David talked about in a previous one, trying not to recycle ideas for every single customer. So it really just depends. If there's an item that's hot for trade shows, I think that tends to be one that sometimes you see with multiple clients. Just, as long as I know that that client's not a competing client, I don't want to be like, hey, I know you guys are both going to be at the same trade show next week. How about I just get you the same item in different colors? Also, kind of working along that line where I have to be professional and maybe have 2 or 3 ideas and not suggest the same things to the same people at the same shows, because then they don't get taken, and we really don't want to see things end up in the trash because, people decide not to take it because everyone's giving out the same thing. So you kind of want to be a little bit different. I did sell some fidget spinners and, people liked them. So I'm not ashamed, but I'm a big fidgeter anyway. So like right now I'm loving that fidget spinner pen that everyone has out, but I think my whole office has them and yeah, David has one. I mean, I don't know why that item is like so addictive, but probably because I don't like the clicking. So, that's probably my favorite random fidget spinner item right now. So Nanette, if you don't have one, don't hate on the fidget spinner pen.
I'm feeling left out. I don't have a fidget spinner pen on my desk. I think we have one downstairs. I'll get it.
I got you. I know a vendor.
Good deal.
Or 30, right? I mean, it is an awesome item. And I think the biggest struggle that I have is when you bring fidget spinner is really a great example, right? Sometimes you can walk into a meeting with a very important person and shoot yourself in the foot with all forms of credibility when you bring a trending topic that they despise, kind of to what Nanette's perspective was. And then you're trying to say, hey, these are really popular right now. And then Nanette's like, I can't believe this gentleman just brought this idea up to me. So it really is a fine balance. But if you do have some background research and say, hey, look, I understand this might not be for you, put a little caveat in front of it, it might a little bit protect your credibility. David, I know Halo's got a ton of, awesome firepower as far as, analytics, technology. And then again, your background itself. Is there a way for you all to check what's working and what's not working? Is there any type of barometer to go back and see what worked?
Well, it doesn't matter what Halo has, but Geiger has that too, Kevin. I had to say, I didn't want someone watching the video and thinking I'm with Halo. I'd like to comment on the whole fidget spinner thing first before we move on. I happened to be in China when the whole fidget spinner craze happened. I don't know, was it 8 years ago or something? And so we leveraged the heck out of it. We shot videos. We went to the factory. We said, we've got them now. And I sold a ton of them at the time. But I cringe. It's kind of like selling a stress ball now. Stress balls and fidget spinners. I don't sell them, but I will sell Amanda's Hub pen, which has the best spin in the industry. So I'm sorry, your question again? I got sidetracked.
No, any tools that Geiger might have, right, that says this is a great campaign, this was successful. I think that's the hardest part of our job is the ROI is so hard to track other than touch it, feel it, love it. It's very nominal. It's not really very empirical with the data, I guess would be the best question.
Well, luckily there's 450 salespeople and they kind of put their orders together and we can see, what categories are buying, what verticals are buying, what kind of stuff are they buying. Some of our production partners do that for us as well. And that can help guide us. But one thing as a salesperson that I have to be cognizant of is know the difference between product marketing push and product marketing pull. Like, how many years have we been told the fanny pack's coming back? Pitch the fanny pack, and all these suppliers grab the fanny pack. And then for 5 years, I didn't sell a fanny pack. Nothing. But that was a push strategy. They wanted us to buy it. Clients weren't buying it. Lululemon comes out with the product. Now there's a need for it. And now there's more of a pull strategy. So now we're chasing we don't call them fanny packs, do we? Boy bags, cross body bags, stuff like that. So it's the pull and push marketing. So be aware of that. Look for the pull. Look for the need.
Really awesome there. And again, for those of you that don't know what goes behind the scenes, we have these little meetings beforehand. We typically don't have to talk about who we work for or how to pronounce last names, but when you've got a host like me, he will miss an icebreaker, and he will certainly tell you apparently the wrong company. So all my Geiger friends out there, he's happy where he is. He's not going. He's not jumping.
Thank you, Kevin.
Katie, any additional insight on this? And then we'll swing it over to you.
Sure. Since so much of my business is done through e-commerce, we actually look at that on a customer level as well. So what are their top 10 sellers on a monthly basis or year to date, so that we can really keep an eye out on what's selling well and even what's not, so that they can then communicate their teams, and just makes them all stronger marketers as well.
Really well done, Annette.
Someone's going to tell her.
Sorry, you're on mute.
Dang it, I'm the one that did. You're on mute. My bad. One of the things I said that we've started getting a little bit more into is AI. Being able to reach out to AI and to ask about those trends. It's been amazing how intuitive AI is, and so I think being able to leverage that as a resource, it's been very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even think about AI getting involved in the creative factory for you all, and how that plays a part. So we'll go into kind of a two-part of our last question, which is there one product that you think that has stood the test of time and that will continue to do that in the future? So if you have that answer, that would be phenomenal. But also, I think my next question is like, when you're pitching to your end users, are you ever coming up with the slogans, taglines about how their brand could incorporate with the product? And kind of looking forward to, if it's okay, I'm going to start with David because of your background. If someone pitches something to you like a koozie, and they know your end user, and they think about, hey, keep the Dunkin', ice brew colder with this large koozie, something like that. Do you ever kind of pitch those ideas along with a slogan, or is that, hey, that's for marketing? And then start with the original question of, which of your products do you think always will stand the test of time when your client says, hey, what's your best product? What would you go to if you were to start out a campaign?
Gotcha. For me personally, one product that has tested the time for me is over 17 years, has been from the Castelli, the Magnet Group, the 67625 medium journal, 256 pages. Even though the trend was to go electronic, and calendars going away, and now journals are going away. Journals haven't gone away from me. I still sell a ton of these. It's probably my number one bestseller for the last 15 years. So people still like the written word and take notes, and that's how they memorize. And so this is the one I'd have to say, even in the days of technology.
Awesome. And then would you ever let someone kind of pitch a campaign to you on behalf of the end users, like a slogan or anything that goes along with that journal, or any of these other trendy topics, or do you leave that for the marketing experts that you're selling to themselves?
It kind of depends on the client. For enterprise accounts, they have really fleshed out brand books of what their brand standards are, their taglines, and they don't like when you try to unprofessionally just throw in some arbitrary tagline or something. So mid to small companies, yes, I do. More for the larger enterprise accounts, it's more like you're pitching a theme for an event, then I would speak up. But with that said, I'm the king of the big idea. I'm the king of the bad idea. That's how, you want volume. That's how you get the big idea. So as long as I preface it and say, crazy Keneally idea coming at you, feel free to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and then I'll say it.
I love that thought process. If you go 1 out of 3 for your ideas and you're a professional hitter, then you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. So if you keep shooting your shot, one of them is going to hit. So I appreciate that. Great feedback. All right, Katie, again, loaded question from the worst host in the podcast game. All right, so what's the one that's the tried and true that stand up to the test of time? And do you ever get comfortable going in and saying, hey, here's how I see this campaign working for you and your team?
Sure. As someone who's relatively new to the industry, but has been in it my whole life, my favorite thing is to pull out a product and say, I actually had this from before I was in the industry and I still kept it. So one that comes to mind for me is the Koozie Olympus can cooler. My dad gave me that probably a decade ago, and I still use it all the time when I'm traveling and, going on a road trip. So that anything like that is really fun if it's personally stood the test of time and it's something that a 20-year-old took from her dad's samples. That's probably a good sign of it being cool or useful or trendy. And then piggybacking off of that comment on the slogan, I think we find ourselves pitching creative ideas the most with custom and with packaging. We're rolling out a big rebrand campaign right now, and we mocked up all the packaging it's going to go into just to get the conversation started and see what's possible. That's not what this enterprise client's going to use, but it really helped the brainstorming and the conversation around it.
Excellent point. Leading with creative, those virtuals help them visualize them riding that car, right? And especially with packaging, right? What's the value of adding $8 to $15 to this product that we're already invested in, and then showcasing what you can really do and how creative you can be? That's fantastic. And a nice little subtle flex there, Katie, about how young you are. So just a little jealous of 10 years ago.
Not in the 20s anymore. That was.
That's right. I heard 20 years old, and I heard 10 years ago, and I was very jealous. Nanette, we'll start with your go-to product, and then we'll talk a little bit about how creative you get when pitching a slogan with the campaign.
Okay, I'm going to be a little broader with the go-to product. And what I found is that items that are functional, people, if they can use them in their everyday life. I mean, for us, you think that everybody's sick of drinkware. You think of everybody sick of, well, they're not sick of journals, because obviously David, is really pitching that. But things that people can use in their everyday lives, whether it's writing instruments or whatever. But in addition to that, I think the thing that sets it apart is design. Being able to have a killer design, if it's permissible, depending on the level of the client. And design accompanying with packaging, as Katie mentioned. When you can tie those things together, I think that you have something that people will, for us, it's been something that sells very well and, continually.
Love it. Mandy, take us home. Oh,
and,
sorry.
Well,
that's
not the second part as far as the creative goes. Yeah, sometimes we do get involved with that, with the umbrella, we've got you covered, all of those types of little slogans. And sometimes they find it really cute and a way to tie it in. But then sometimes, just like David said, that, this is our corporate brand and we're not looking for little stuff like that. So, all right, Amanda, take us home.
All right. Well, I'm going to go more broad, but I'm going to say that every single one of us has a promotional lip balm somewhere. So I feel like the lip balm's not going away. I feel like it's something I always take at a trade show, because whether I forgot it or whatnot, and I probably have 6 in my backpack with different brands on them. So I'd say I feel like lip balm is not going away. And then as far as the creative stuff, I agree, those enterprise clients may not want it, but I think it starts with us being creative. And I've seen a lot of the stuff you guys do for self promo, but I'm trying not to just put my logo on things when I send it out, because I think that also lends to trends. People are holding on to things that have a quote or a saying, or we send out a notebook a lot. So David, loving the notebook. I think our notebook says notes from a meeting that should have been an email. We get a ton of comments on it because people think it's funny, but sometimes when I'm sending things out, my logo's nice, but that didn't get attention. the cute saying on it does. My logo is still there. It's just not the biggest thing. So I think leading with some of those conversations like, hey, we could put your logo, but if you want it to be a little different, we're finding that this is going to get more traction, especially at a trade show giveaway, because people are going to show other people and be like, look how funny this item is. But you want to be careful with what you're saying on them and make sure like whatever the saying is like doesn't go against your brand guidelines per se. So it gets a little tough with those enterprise clients because they've got a 62-page brand guideline that you've got to kind of read through and figure out what's allowed.
That's exactly right. Well, that hits us right at the 20-minute mark. The last thing I was just going to add is it's a little bit of both, right? Is this the creativity, the slogan, the trends. Sometimes the small logo left chest is really popular. And then 10 years ago, it was the big, bold font on a big Nike t-shirt. So we're seeing that in retail. So it seems like these four are going to help you get to that next level and make sure that they're staying on top of the trends, whether it's the products, the campaign, their creativity. And a good campaign has a little bit of all. Okay, so that's it for episode 4. If I didn't lose my podcast seat here after all the fumbling that I did on this one, we're looking forward to seeing you back for episode 5. Thanks so much for joining us on Selling 7 Figures.